Hello students. In this session we are going to discuss critical points of iron carbon diagram. In the previous session we have discussed allotropic forms of iron carbon diagram. Those are nothing but what is ferrite, what is cementite, what is austenite, and what is perlite, and what is the crystal structure of those ferrite, perlite, austenite. All those things we have discussed in the previous session. And also we have discussed the allotropic forms of pure iron, that is alpha iron, gamma iron, delta iron. So those things we have discussed in the previous sessions. Today we are going to discuss what is meant by a steel and what is meant by cast iron and what is meant by eutectide steel, hypoeutectide steel, hypereutectide steel, and what are the critical points and its significance. These things we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay, coming to the introduction part. So first we have to define alloy. Already we have defined an alloy. We have defined pure metal as well as alloy. Okay, if you know the definition, if you remember the definition properly, it is a combination of two or more materials in which one should be a metal, right? So alloy is nothing but it is a combination of two or more materials in which one should have a metal, right? So here if you see here in the iron carbon system, we are having steel and we are having carbon and iron. So if you see the carbon and iron is a metal. So you are having more than one material. So you are having more than one material, and in which you are having iron as a metal. So we can call it as alloy. So it is an alloy. So here, when you go in detail, this iron carbon alloy will have steels as well as cast irons. When we call them as steels and when we call them as cast irons. If you see the second sentence, if you see the second sentence here, alloys with carbon content up to 2%. That means if the carbon percentage is up to 2%, then we can call them as steels. If it exceeds 2%, if it is more than 2%, the carbon percentage is more than 2%, then we can call them as cast irons. Okay, I am repeating once again. Iron carbon system, we can call it as alloy because in this one we are having more than one material, and in that one we are having one as a metal. So we can call it as alloy. In this alloy of iron carbon system, we may have steels as well as cast irons. So when we call them as steels, if the carbon percentage is up to 2%, then we can call them as steels. And if the carbon percentage is more than 2%, then we can call them as cast irons. Okay, so what is meant by alloy, and how this iron carbon system will become an alloy, and what are the things we are having, steels as well as cast irons, when we can call them as steels and when we can call them as cast irons. So these three sentences are very, very important. Okay, without knowing these things we are unable to understand future concepts. Okay, so that's why you should understand. So your iron carbon system is nothing but an alloy. Okay, because here we are having a combination of two or more. Okay, it is more than one, two or more elements you are having. In that one should be a metal. Iron is a metal. So in that alloy, you may have steels and cast irons based on the carbon percentage. Up to 2%, they are called as steels. If it is more than 2%, we can call them as cast irons. You should remember these concepts very carefully. And coming to next slide, see here, eutectide steels. So what is meant by eutectide steel? So eutectide steel and hypoeutectide steel and hypereutectide steel. So first we have to understand eutectide steel. So I am going to the third sentence. If you see this third sentence here, a steel with carbon content 0.8%. So a steel having a carbon percentage of 0.8 is known as eutectide steel. So what is meant by eutectide steel? A steel is having a carbon percentage of 0.8. Okay. If it is less than 0.8, we can call them as hypoeutectide steels. So that is nothing but steel with carbon content from 0.008 to 0.8%. 0.008. Okay, we may not have 0% of carbon. If you are having 0% of carbon, then we can say that it is pure iron. Okay, so you should have some percentage of carbon. So that is 0.008 to 0.8% carbon. They are known as hypoeutectide steels. If it is more than this 0.8, see here, steels containing carbon from 0.8 to 2% are known as hypereutectide steels. So if the carbon percentage varies from 0.8 to 2%, that is more than 0.8 and up to 2%, then we can call them as hypereutectide steels. So eutectide steels, hypoeutectide steels, hypereutectide steels. So at 0.8% of carbon, eutectide steel. If it is less than 0.8%, that means 0.008 to up to 0.8, then we can call them as hypoeutectide steels. If it is more than 0.8% and up to 2%, then we can call them as hypereutectide steels. Okay, this is very, very important question in the GATE as well as competitive examinations. So you should be very careful with these compositions with the percentage of carbon. Okay, based on the percentage of carbon, we can classifying into eutectide steels, hypoeutectide steels, and hypereutectide steels. If you go for the next slide, see here, next we are entering into the critical temperatures. Okay, so what is meant by critical temperatures and what is its significance, we are going to learn here. Okay, see here, if you observe this one, I am taking a curve. Observe the curve carefully. I am taking a curve for 0.2% of carbon. Okay, on x-axis, that means it is constant here. I am taking for a steel of 0.2% carbon, and here I am taking temperature on y-axis. I am taking temperature on y-axis, and if I draw critical temperatures, so what is meant by critical temperature, I will explain. If you observe this one, you are having two curves. See this one, AC1, AC2 and AC3, that is one curve, and AR1, AR2, AR3, that is one curve. See here, one is for heating curve and one is for cooling curve. So what it indicates, what is meant by this critical temperature? Okay, so I will explain. So before going to that, just go through the diagram. Okay, so observe these points, AR1, AC1 and AC2 and AR2. Okay, AR2 and AC2 and AR3 and AC3. If you observe AR1, AC1, AR2, AC2, AR3 and AC3, just observe the points. Okay, now we will enter into the actual concept. See, what is meant by this critical points? What is the actual concepts? See here, if you see here, the structural change due to heating or cooling causes arrest of temperatures. We know this point. Okay, structural change. So when you heat or cool, what will happen? At certain temperature, structural change will occur. So when you are heating a solid and it will become liquid, then during that you will observe some structural changes. And you are having liquid metal and you are cooling it, you will get some structural changes. So the structural change will occur when you go for heating or cooling. When the structural change will done, what will happen? Arrest of temperature will be done. That means when the structure will change, when the structural change will occur, what will happen? The temperature remains constant. That means the temperature will not change. That is called arrest of temperature. Okay. So what is meant by arrest of temperature? When the structural change occurs, the temperature will not change at that point. So what is happening here? The temperature is arrested. That means it is constant. So that is called arrest of temperatures. Okay. So the structural change takes place at constant temperature. Okay. So that temperature is known as critical temperature. Okay. So while you are heating or cooling, structural change will occur. During that structural change, temperature remains constant. That means temperature is arrested. Those are known as critical temperatures or critical points. So those temperature arrest. So the constant temperatures are known as critical points. I am repeating once again, very important concept. What is meant by this arrest of temperature or critical temperature or critical points? When we heat or cool, what will happen? Structural change will occur. At the structural change, the temperature remains constant, we know. Okay. So the temperature is remaining constant. We can call it as arrest of temperature. That means the temperature is arrested. It is not changing. So during the structural change, the arrest of temperature is occurring, and those temperatures are known as critical temperatures or temperature arrests. Okay. So we should understand in this way. And those are known as A points. A points means arrest of temperature points. Arrest of temperature. Arrest of temperature is nothing but at that point the temperature is constant. That's it. Okay. When it will occur? At the structural changes only. Okay. Coming to next slide. See, critical points. So what will happen at the critical points? If you observe the diagram, we are observed AC points and AR points. So what is meant by AC point and what is meant by AR points? See here, these arrests occur slightly higher temperature on heating and compared to cooling. So if you observe the diagram, I am going back again. If you see here, one is for heating curve and one is for cooling curve. If you see here, AC3 is more than AR3 and AC2 is more than your AR2 and AC1 is more than AR1. So what is AC1 and what is AR1? So this AR1 is also a critical point. This AC1 is also a critical point. But why it is having some difference? They are not coinciding. Why? See here, this is AC1 is for heating. Okay, AC1 is for heating curve and this AR1 is for cooling curve. Okay, now you have to understand, when you draw the critical points for heating as well as cooling, they are not same. They are more for heating compared to cooling. Okay, you should understand. I am going to the actual slide. See here. These arrests occur slightly higher temperature on heating curve. So for heating it is higher compared to your cooling. That means your AC is more compared to AR, whether it is AC1 or AC2 or AC3 with respect to AR1, AR2 and AR3. So Why C means you feel that it's may cool, but it is not cool. See here, the letter C indicates the chow phase. So letter C indicates chow phase. What is meant by chow phase? Chow phase is nothing but to heat. So that means AC indicates heating, not cooling. So C is not for cooling, it is for chow phase. Chow phase is nothing but to heat. And what is meant by this R? R refers to refriedescent. Refriedescent. Refriedescent means to cool. That's why we are indicating with R. Okay. So R indicates cooling and C indicates heating. So what is meant by C? Chow phase. What is meant by R? Refriedescent. Okay. So here we should understand the critical points are the temperature arrests are more for heating compared to your cooling. Okay. And coming to the next slide. See, just you remember these points because we will discuss these points elaborately in the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. Okay. So just you remember the points and the temperature if required. Okay. So you will not understand complete concept here because it depends on the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. So when we understand the iron carbon equilibrium diagram carefully, then we can understand this very easily. But here you have to understand only few basic points. See here, if a piece of eutectile steel is allowed to cool slowly, it will be observed that cooling proceeds uniformly retarded up to the point AR1. That means up to AR1, when you are going for the cooling operation, what will happen? It is retarded. That means it is slowly cooling up to the point AR1. Up to the point AR1. Okay. Up to the point AR1. I will explain these things while we are discussing iron carbon equilibrium diagram, but here you just remember the few concepts which are related to here. Okay. So I am cooling a eutectile steel slowly, and it is observed that the cooling proceeds uniformly retarded rate up to this AR1. The evolution of heat due to the transformation of austenite into perlite. So just you remember here, that means austenite is converting into perlite at the critical temperature. Okay. So at the critical temperature, we know that results in the increase of temperatures in spite of cooling because there is what we can call the temperature remains constant. So even though you are cooling, temperature will be evolved, and because of the temperature, what will happen? The steel will looks like glow, brightness. That means it is glowing. Steel looks like it is glowing. Okay. So for that phenomena I am discussing here. Okay. So when you are cooling it, when you reach the point, critical point AR1, even though that AR1, what will happen? Austenite is converted into perlite. At that point, what will happen? Your steel will looks like it is glowing. That means glow will be appeared in the steel. Why it is appearing? Okay. What that phenomenon is known as? Okay. For that purpose, we are discussing here. Okay. So what is that phenomenon? I will discuss. If you see here, that phenomenon is known as recoalescence. Okay. Recoalescence. It is glowing. Your steel is glowing. Okay. Why it is glowing? Because of the temperature generation. When austenite is forming into perlite, temperature is generated. Because of the temperature, your steel is glowing. That phenomena is known as recoalescence. And the reverse also is possible while heating. The reverse change is known as decoalescence. Okay. So in the reverse, what will happen? If you see here, the absorption of heat to the transformation of perlite into austenite. So in the previous case, what is happened? Austenite is converted into perlite, but here perlite is converted into austenite at critical point AC1. Here what will happen? The temperature is decreasing. In the previous case, the temperature is increasing. Okay. Here what will happen? It will become dull. Then it is called as decoalescence. It is called as decoalescence. So what we have discussed here, two phenomena, recoalescence and decoalescence. What is meant by recoalescence and what is meant by decoalescence? What is meant by recoalescence? When this austenite is converting into perlite at the critical temperature AR1, what is happening? The temperature is increasing. Because of the temperature, your steel is glowing. That phenomenon is known as recoalescence. In the reverse direction, that is when you go for the heating, at the critical temperature AC1, what is happening? Your perlite is converted into austenite. At this point, the temperature is decreasing. Because of that one, some dullness will be observed in the steel. That phenomena is known as decoalescence. Okay, so you should understand these two phenomena. And coming to nomenclature of A1, A2, A3 and AC1. If you observe here, you are having A1, that means temperature arrest A1, A2, A3 and ACM. So we will discuss these 4 points in detail in the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. For that, for time's sake, just you remember where it will be and what the importance, the significance of this A1, A2, A3 and ACM. Okay. See this one. This is called iron carbon equilibrium diagram. Okay. You may have different points. See here how we are going to draw this iron carbon equilibrium diagram. What are the parameters we will take on x-axis and on y-axis? Just a few basics I want to explain here. If you see here, I am taking the carbon percentage on x-axis. I am taking the temperature, whether it is in degree centigrade or Fahrenheit, on y-axis. See here, if you see the diagram, here they have taken degree Fahrenheit and here they have taken degree centigrade. Okay. And if you see, so many parameters are involved in this one, so many temperatures and so many compositions. Okay. So, so many parameters are involved in the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. Okay. Cementite, perlite, transform lerberite, so many things are there. Okay. We will discuss those things in the coming sessions. Only just you remember how this iron carbon equilibrium diagram will be drawn here. So by taking carbon percentage and temperatures on x and y axis respectively. So you will, if you draw this one from the liquid state, when you are going to cool with respect to carbon percentage, so the composition of iron carbon will be at different temperatures and at different composition will be like that. Okay, and you are having different critical points at critical temperatures like A1, A2, A3 and ACM. So here our interest is where this A1, A2, A3 and ACM, that's it. Okay, we will discuss other points in the coming sessions. So coming to the next slide. See the next slide. See this one. See the next slide. See here. See the next slide. If you see here, see the upper critical temperature point A3. Okay, just remember the points. The upper critical temperature A3, temperature below which ferrite starts to form from austenite. So you just remember what will happen. You just remember what will happen at A3. So what is happening from at A3? Your ferrite starts forming from austenite, okay, in the hypoeutectide steels. So in the hypoeutectide steels, what is happening at A3? Ferrite forms from austenite. You remember that point, that's enough. Okay, and if you see here, upper critical temperature ACM is the temperature below which cementite starts to form from the ejection of austenite. So just you remember here, from austenite you are going to get cementite at ACM in the hypereutectide alloys. This is hypereutectide, okay, this is hypoeutectide. So A3 will be occur in hypoeutectide alloys and your ACM will be done at hypereutectide alloys. Okay, what is meant by hypo and hyper? Okay, already we have discussed eutectide steels. What is meant by eutectide steels? If the carbon percentage is 0.8%, then we can call them as eutectide steels. If it is less, that means 0.008 to 0.8%, we can call them as hypoeutectide steels. If it is more than 0.8% up to 2%, we can call them as hypereutectide steels. Okay, so what is happening at A3? You are going to get ferrite from austenite, and what you are going to get ACM, you are going to get cementite from austenite. Here you are going to get ferrite from austenite. Here you are going to get cementite from austenite. Okay, those things you should remember. And coming to the next slide. See here. Lower critical temperature A1 is the temperature of the austenite to perlite eutectide transformation. Below this temperature, austenite does not exist. So I will explain here. See here. At temperature A1, what is happening? Austenite to perlite transformation is taking place. Okay, austenite to perlite temperature. So it is eutectide transformation. That means at 0.8% carbon. At 0.8% carbon, what is happening? Your austenite is converting into perlite. Austenite is converting into perlite. Okay. And if you see this A2, magnetic transformation temperature. A2 is the temperature below which alpha ferrite is ferromagnetic. That means below this point, your alpha ferrite is ferromagnetic in nature. Below this point, it is ferromagnetic in nature. Okay, we know that alpha iron is magnetic as well as non-magnetic. So you may exist. That means your alpha ferrite, alpha iron may exist in non-magnetic nature as well as magnetic nature. Below this line, that means below A2 line, A2 temperature line, your alpha iron is magnetic in nature. Your alpha iron is magnetic in nature. See here, if you observe this one, you are having this one, this point as A1, this one as A1. Okay, your A1. Okay, and if you see this one, this point A2. Okay, and this temperature A3 and this point ACM. Okay, so A1, A2, A3 and ACM, right? So these are the critical points. These are the critical temperatures. So what is happening at A1 and what is happening at A2? If you see what is happening at A1, At A1, what is happening? Austenite is converted into perlite in the eutectide transformation. In the eutectide transformation means carbon percentage is 0.8%. 0.8%. If you see here, 0.8% carbon. And if you see what is the A2, below this line, below this temperature A2 line, your alpha iron is ferromagnetic in nature. Your alpha iron is in ferromagnetic in nature. That means magnetic nature it is having. We know that alpha iron exists in both magnetic nature as well as non-magnetic nature. So below this point A2, your alpha iron will exist in ferromagnetic, that means magnetic nature. Okay, coming to your A3 and ACM. See, already we have discussed. Already we have discussed with AT, this your, see, A3. What is happening at A3? Your ferrite is formed from austenite, and what is ACM? Your cementite is formed from austenite. This is for hypoeutectide alloys and this is for hypoeutectide alloys. So those things you should remember. So what is happening at A1? What is happening at A2? And what is happening at A3? And what is happening at ACM? I am repeating once again. At ACM, what is happening? That means cementite is formed from your austenite. In which type of alloys? Hypereutectide alloys. And what about A3? Here, your ferrite is formed from austenite. And which type of alloys? Hypoeutectide alloys. Okay. And going for A1 and A2. See here, A1. A1 is the temperature at which austenite to ferrite transformation will take place, and it is at eutectide transformation, that is 0.08% of carbon. And what about A2? Below this temperature line, below this point, your alpha iron exists in magnetic nature, that is ferromagnetic nature. So what is A1, what is A2, what is A3, and what is ACM, and at what is converted at that temperature, in what form it is converted, whether it is magnetic or non-magnetic, at eutectide point or hypereutectide or hypoeutectide. Those things you should remember. Those are the important points. And coming to series 1. Series 1. See what we have discussed till now. We have discussed critical points like A1, A2, A3, ACM in the iron carbon diagram, and what its significance, what is happening at A1, what is happening at A2, what is happening at A3, and what is happening at ACM. What is happening at A1 and at what reaction, that means whether it is hypoeutectide or hypereutectide or eutectide transformation. Okay, so those things you should remember. That means what is A1, what is A2, what is A3 and ACM, and at what percentage of carbon it is occurring, and from in which formation to which formation it is transforming. Those things you should remember. Okay, that is the significance. And nomenclature of change points. So we have nomenclated as A1, A2, A3, all these things, right? So those are the, and also we have discussed what is meant by eutectide steel, hypereutectide steel, and hypoeutectide steels. Okay, it is 0.8%, it is eutectide steel. If it is less than 0.8, that is 0.0082 to 0.8, then we can call them as hypoeutectide steels. If it is more than 0.8%, that means 0.8 to 2%, we can call them as hyper. Hyper means more. Okay, so hypereutectide steels. So in this way, we are classifying alloy of iron carbon into steels and cast irons. Later we are classified them into when we can call them as steels and when we can call them as cast irons. Up to 2% of carbon, we can call them as steels. If it is more than 2%, we can call them as cast irons. And later we have classified eutectile steels. So what is meant by eutectile steel? What is meant by hypoeutectile steel and hypereutectile steels? What do you understand by critical temperature and arrest of temperature? That is A temperatures, A1, A2, A3 and ACM. Okay. And what will happen at the temperatures? That is structural change will occur. And what is meant by recoalescence and decoalescence? And what is the significance of these critical temperatures A1, A2, A3 and ACM? Okay, so these things we have discussed in this session. And coming to quiz. Okay, we are having some quiz questions here related to this session and the previous sessions. See, recrystallization temperature is 1. What is meant by recrystallization temperature? So the options given are, see here, if you see the options, at which crystals first start forming from the molten metal when it's cooled, at which new spherical crystals formed to begin to form the old deformed, at which change of allotropic forms takes place, at which crystals grow bigger in size. Which is the answer? See, recrystallization temperature. That means when you heat after crystallization process, when you heat, that means recrystallization will be formed. So if you see the second one, new spherical crystals will be formed, right? If you see the first one, the first crystals that forming from molten metal are not. Okay, so that is just crystallization process. Here, recrystallization process, that means when you go for the recrystallization process, again the crystals will be formed. Okay, when it is deformed, the old is deformed. That means when some hot working or cold working is done. So when that one, so your answer will be second one. Recrystallization, when you heat it at certain temperature, what will happen? New crystals will be formed. That temperature is known as recrystallization temperature. And if you see the second question, points of arrest of iron corresponds to, what is understand by points of, that means arrest of temperature. So A1, A2, A3 and ACM. Stages at which allotropic form changes, stages at which further heating does not increase the temperature, stages at which properties do not change with increase in temperature. There is no link, nothing like points of arrest. Okay, so if you observe this one, stages at which allotropic forms changes, that means structural change will be done. At points of arrest, what is going to happen? Structural change will be done. Structural change will take place. So that is nothing but allotropic forms change. Okay, so allotropic forms change. And coming to the third point, delta iron occurs at a temperature of, so we have discussed allotropic forms of pure iron. So at what temperature your delta iron will be? At what temperature? Between 1400 degrees centigrade to 1539 degrees centigrade. Go through the previous sessions, you can check these temperatures. Okay, 1400 degrees centigrade to 1539 degrees centigrade. And a material is known as allotropic or polymorphic if it exists. Okay, we know what is meant by polymorphic. Polymorphic means if it exists in different crystal structures at different temperatures. So if it exhibits, it exists in several crystal forms at a different temperature. And if it is possible in the reverse direction, we can call it as allotropic. Okay, so both are similar in the broad sense. In the broad sense, allotropic and polymorphic are similar. Okay, this polymorphic transformation, this polymorphic change is possible in reverse direction, then we can call them as allotropic. So in this way, in the broad sense, allotropic and polymorphic are similar, right? So what is the answer here? Exist in several crystal forms at a different temperature. And if you see the fifth one, see, which of the following represents allotropic forms of iron? What are the allotropic forms of iron? Alpha iron, gamma iron and delta iron. Okay, alpha, gamma and delta. See, sixth one. The following types of materials are usually most ductile. Which type of materials will be ductile? FCC lattice structure or BCC, hexagonal, all of the above. Which one? So we have discussed in the FCC and BCC and HCP structures. Which one? Face-centered cubic lattice. So when you are having face-centered cubic lattice, those will have more ductile nature. And pure iron is the structure of purest iron. Pure form of iron is nothing but ferrite. Okay, so purest structure, which structure is having pure iron? Ferrite. So 100% ferrite. The temperature at which ferromagnetic alpha iron transforms to paramagnetic alpha iron. So that means magnetic alpha iron to non-magnetic alpha iron. Okay, first you are having non-magnetic alpha iron, later you are having magnetic iron. So here that means magnetic to non-magnetic, that means the temperature should be increased. So at what temperature it will be having this change? That means magnetic to non-magnetic. What is the temperature? If you remember that allotropic forms, you can answer this one. What is that one? It is nothing but 770 degrees centigrade. So more than 770 degrees centigrade, below 770 degrees centigrade, you are having magnetic nature. Above 770 degrees centigrade, you are having non-magnetic nature. Both exist in alpha iron. Okay, in the both temperatures, it exists alpha iron. That means up to 910. So here, what is the answer? So what is at what temperature it is changing? 770. So 770 is the line barrier. Below that you are having magnetic nature. Above that you are having non-magnetic in nature. Gamma iron exists in the following temperature. Okay, at what temperature gamma iron you are having? At what temperature you are having? 910 to 1400 degrees centigrade. Okay, 910 to 1400 degrees centigrade you are having gamma iron. If you remember those diagrams, you can answer these questions. Okay, very, very important. Those temperatures are very, very important in the competitive examination. You should be carefully answer these questions. They are very confusing. Okay, because everywhere you are having temperatures. So you should be very careful while studying these temperatures. Okay, you should not get confused. See this one. Ferromagnetic alpha iron exists in the temperature. Ferromagnetic. Ferromagnetic means magnetic temperature. Magnetic alpha iron. What is the range you are having? Just now we have discussed 770 is the barrier. So below that you are having magnetic, right? See here. So what is the answer? Below 723. So if you speak exactly, it is below 723. So in broadly we can say that below 770. Okay. See here. Paramagnetic alpha iron changes to gamma iron. Paramagnetic means non-magnetic alpha iron to gamma iron. That means moving top. So 770 to 910 is the paramagnetic alpha iron. Okay. If you cross 910, what you are going to get? Gamma iron. So what is the answer? 910. Okay. So if you cross 910, you will get gamma iron. See this one. Crystal structure of gamma iron is. Crystal structure of gamma iron. Okay. So what is the crystal structure of gamma iron? Very, very important question. What is that? Do you remember the examples for BCC, the examples for FCC, the examples for HCP? If you remember those examples, you can answer this question. Okay. If you don't remember those examples for different crystal structures, you are unable to answer these type of questions. Okay, that's why you should be very carefully study those examples. You should remember them properly. Otherwise, you are unable to answer these type of questions. These are remembering questions. You should remember. Okay, which is the answer? See, face-centered cubic. So what is the structure of gamma iron? Face-centered cubic. Okay, and if you see the 11th question, the crystal of alpha iron. So what is the crystal structure of alpha iron? If you remember those allotropic forms of iron, you can answer this one. Thus diagram. Okay, you have to visualize the diagram. Then only you can answer this type of questions. So the crystal of alpha iron is body-centered cubic, face-centered cubic, hexagonal closed pack, simple cubic structure. Which one? Without remembering those things, you are unable to answer. Okay. So if you remember properly, you can answer in a few seconds. Otherwise, it is very tough to answer. So what is the answer? Body-centered cubic. So body-centered cubic structure, the alpha iron will have. If you see the 12th one, the temperature at which ferromagnetic alpha iron transforms to paramagnetic alpha iron. I am repeating once again. So ferromagnetic means magnetic to non-magnetic. Magnetic. So below you are having magnetic, and when you moving up, the temperature is increasing. What is happening? Non-magnetic it is becoming. So what is the barrier? Just now we have discussed the same bit repeated here. So what is the answer? 770. So the barrier is 770. If you cross 770, you are having non-magnetic. If you cross below 770, then you are having magnetic. Okay, so these are the quiz questions. And if you go for the questions, what they ask in the examination, explain critical temperatures. What do you understand by critical temperatures? Or arrest of temperatures and critical points, and explain the critical points and their significance. So what is A1, what is A2, what is A3, and what is ACM, what is its significance, and what will happen at A1, A2, A3 and ACM. Okay, what will happen at A1, A2, A3 and ACM. Okay, you should remember properly. Okay, only few important terms are there. You should remember those terms and you have to form by using those terms into beautiful sentences. That means if you understand the concepts, forming the sentence is very easy. If you don't understand the concept, you are unable to form a single sentence. Okay, so what are the important points to remember and how they are related and what is the concept? If you remember those concepts, you can write very easily. Okay, so very, very important questions. These two are. So with this one, I am closing today's session.